All right. Hello again, Avengers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025 number, what are we, 92, and today, oh wow, today has been a strange day, to say the least. For anyone who doesn't know, early this morning, 8 a.m. my time, uh, Nintendo had their direct announcing the new Switch 2, along with a bunch of games and a bunch of new stuff, and people are getting whiplash with everything that was announced on the direct and all the stuff that came out after the direct. And I just wanted to kind of talk about the things that interested me. Because I watched the damn thing live. Fun fact, watching it live was not that fun because they had really, really bad sound lag issues. And partway through the event, the video just stopped. The audio kept going, but the video stopped. So that was really interesting and fun. So tech issues are always fun. But the basics of like the big things that were announced, the Switch 2 itself got officially announced. We have a release date. It is June 5th is when the Switch 2 is coming out, which to me is really, really surprising. I was expecting, because it's April, I was expecting the Switch 2 to come out either in late summer, like August, or to not come out until it was closer to the holiday season, like September, November. I was not expecting it to be out in 2 months. So that got me excited. Hardware wise, the Switch 2 looks really strong. When it's docked, it's apparently going to be able to give 4K visuals, which is really, really impressive, especially since the regular Switch has a fun time with 1080p a lot of times, and this is going to go all the way up to 4K. It's really cool. Undocked in the handheld mode, it can handle 1080p. It's going to be larger screen than the Switch. The Joy-Cons are held in by magnets, and you still have like a release button on them to take them off, but instead of having to like slide them in and always being terrified that you're going to break those little channels that they're in, now it's all done by magnets, which I, again, find fascinating and interesting. And they, on the Pro controller, they added in these buttons. If anyone doesn't know, like this is my 8BitDo 2 controller that I love. I love this thing. It is so great. Whenever I play games on my computer, this is the controller that I use. Aside from Final Fantasy 14, I still use my PS5 controller for that. But everything else I use this, and it's great. But one of the things I really like about it is it has these buttons right here that I map to the control stick clicking, because I hate trying to click my control sticks. It never works the way I want it to. And so this just lets me do that. So the Pro controller is going to have those automatically, which I really like. And I was looking at the accessories, the charge controller for the Switch 2. So you can take the Joy-Cons off of the Switch 2 and then plug them into a controller. The charge version of that controller, which I don't know if that's the one that's going to be bundled with the Switch 2, or if it's going to be just like the Switch, where the one that comes with it is literally just a grip. Like, it doesn't do anything other than give you like a grip to use it like a normal controller. But the charge version of the Switch 2 controller has those buttons on it as well. So I'm a big fan about that. It's one of my biggest issues with my PS5 controller is it doesn't have those things. And in order to get the version that does, you have to pay like $160. And I'm never going to spend $160 on a controller unless I become a millionaire. And even then, I have better things to spend money on than a $160 controller. So that, hardware-wise, I am super jazzed. at this. All of the stuff that I already own for my Switch, I believe, is going to be able to transfer over, like your digital games. They mentioned that some games may be incompatible with the new Switch. They have not released a list or anything like that of the games that just won't work on Switch 2. But they will have like a transfer thing, so you can transfer your games from your Switch to your Switch 2. In addition to that, you can use a micro SD card, but the only micro SD card you can do is what's called a micro SD Express card, which is effectively a solid state drive. Like it's super fast. It has read times that are on par with a solid state hard drive. However, they're very expensive and they're not very big. The largest one I've been able to find is 256 gigs, which is about half the size of the SD card that I currently have in my Switch. That I have like half full. With I've gone mostly digital with my games on my Switch because it's just easier. I don't have to move cards. So yeah, that's hardware and everything. Other than the fact that I'm not going to be able to use the same SD cards in my old Switches as with the new Switch. I'm liking it. I think it's really cool. I think everything about the system looks great. All that stuff's fine. They went on to announce a bunch of different games. Mario Kart World is the new Mario Kart game. And not only does it look like it's going to be really fun, it effectively looks like an open world Mario Kart game, which is weird when you talk about it. But effectively, you still have your kind of standard Mario Kart courses where you get on, you drive around, you throw shells at people, you get mad at the damn spiky shell. Like, that's still going to be there. But if you do the like Grand Prix mode, which has been something since Mario Kart was first introduced on the Super Nintendo, Grand Prix is where you do 4 races in a row. And apparently in the Grand Prix mode now, after you're done with each race, you actually have to drive across this kind of open world to the next race, which I find fascinating. And you can just like drive around in the open world without being in a race and do stuff like that. They also have a new race mode where you literally drive across the world and you slowly lose racers as you go further and further and further. So it's kind of like an elimination style race, which also sounds amazingly cool. And they didn't talk about it, but they showed it over and over again. They have plane versions of the cars. And if you were an N64 kid like I was, one of the best kart racers that has ever been released ever is Diddy Kong Racing. Diddy Kong Racing was so amazing, it was better than Mario Kart 64, and Mario Kart 64 was phenomenal. But Diddy Kart Racing was better in every single way. You had 3 different kinds of vehicles you could use. You could use your regular little cart. You had hovercrafts, which nobody liked, and then you had planes, which were super awesome. So yeah, now it looks like Mario Kart's got planes, and that's super cool, and I'm totally there for that. So that game looks cool. They announced a new Zelda game, which again, I work with Zelda Universe. We were all waiting for Zelda Universe stuff or Zelda type stuff to happen, and so they mentioned there's another thing. Certain games are going to have Switch 2 editions of the game, where basically the new features of the Switch will lose. Like some of them will have better graphics. They'll have new things that you can do, like. For Metroid Prime 4, they will have a Switch version and a Switch 2 version. The Switch 2 version can actually use the new mouse feature. Basically, your Joy-Cons, you can place them on like a mouse pad and use them just like a mouse. And so Metroid Prime 4 is effectively going to have mouse aiming if you want to play it that way. They have Switch 2 editions of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, which is super cool. But they also announced Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment. I have the original Hyrule Warriors on my Switch. I have put like 100 or 150 hours into the damn thing. It is amazingly fun. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity came out a few years ago, and it basically was like an alternate universe story of what happened when the Great Calamity that happened 100 years before Breath of the Wild. You basically had an alternate history version of that. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment is basically going to be slight spoiler alert for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. There is an event that happens that sends Zelda back in time to the founding of Hyrule. And shortly after the founding of Hyrule, they deal with Ganondorf, and they have this entire war called the Imprisoning War, where they have to fight against Ganondorf and eventually imprison him, and that becomes a big plot point for Tears of the Kingdom. So, Age of Imprisonment is going to be a Hyrule Warriors set in that time period. I'm a big fan of Warriors games in general. I played the original, not the first Dynasty Warriors. I think I played Dynasty Warriors 4. And I loved it. I thought it was amazing. It made me fall in love with the Romance of the Three Kings history and everything like that. If you're not familiar, Romance of the Three Kingdoms is one of the, I think it's the 5 great books of Chinese literacy or something like that. It's a historical fiction book about the Three Kingdoms period of China, and there's a lot of really, really interesting, cool stuff. Like one of my favorite kind of stories that's part of the legend of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms is there was this tactician named Zhuge Liang, and Zhuge Liang was known across China for just being this absolutely brilliant tactician. And Liu Bai, one of the heads of the Three Kingdoms, was actually able to recruit Zhuge Liang to his kingdom to help it grow in this big conflict between these three kingdoms when they were all trying to vie for power. Well, there was a situation where Zhuge Liang's forces were severely outnumbered, outmatched by a rival general. However, Zhuge Liang knew the rival general, and the rival general, more important, knew Zhuge Liang. And so what happened was Zhuge Liang, they're trying to defend this city, and they're not going to be able to do it. They're outnumbered so much, they're going to just be able to... So what Zhuge Liang does, he says, everybody, I want you to open all of the gates of the city, every single one of them, and just let the troops in. And all of his troops are like, you're nonsense amounts of crazy. What are you talking about? He's like, just trust me, dude. Trust me, bro. And so what happens is when the general comes up to lay siege to the city, he finds all of the gates open and no one there to stop him. And so he starts kind of venturing in, and he looks around and it's like, there's nobody there. And he's like, we're out of here. Guys, we're done. We're getting out of here. And his troops are like, what are you doing? We can take the city. He's like, this city is being protected by Zhuge Liang. There is no possible way that is not a trap. If we go in that city, we're just dead. I'm not doing this. I'm not losing my entire army for being stupid. There's no possible way he would just let us into his city. This is a trap. We're getting out of here and we're getting more forces. And because of that, he was able to buy enough time for him to get reinforced and beat the battle. Like, that's the cool thing about that. So anyway, I like the Dynasty Warriors series. I like the Hyrule Warriors series. Age of Calamity is probably one of the best Warriors style games I've ever played, because every single character plays completely differently. Normally in a Warriors game, each character, for the most part, is the same. Their attacks might look different, But for the most part, you just jam buttons and kill off swaths of bad guys, and then move on. And every so often, you do a super special attack. But other than the characters looking a little bit different, and maybe like their attack ranges being slightly different because a spear hits things differently than like a sword, there's really not a whole lot of difference. And most of the time, it generally turns into which one is your favorite. But in Age of Calamity, every single character didn't just play differently. I mean, they were massively different situations. Zelda, one of her fighting styles that she had was she would use the Sheikah tablet to just create random nonsense and throw it at people. And so her attacks were crazy, crazy interesting. Whereas she had another weapon set where she would get on a motorcycle and just destroy people by running into them with a motorcycle. And then Link had like 3 or 4 different ones, including one where he basically took a Guardian, ripped its legs off, attached them in the middle with chains, and just would go around swinging Guardian legs and then stealing weapons from people. It was it's such a cool game. So I'm massively, massively excited about Age of Imprisonment. Apparently, the press release says that this is actually going to be canon. I mentioned before, Age of Calamity isn't technically canon. It's an alternate universe. But Age of Imprisonment is apparently going to be canon with Tears of the Kingdom. So this game is going to show us exactly what happened in the press and in the past in the imprisoning war, which really isn't discussed a lot in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's a plot point that they go, yeah, the imprisoning war happened, but now we're dealing thousands and thousands and thousands of years later. Now we're dealing with the after effects of it. But they really don't go into what happened there. So now we're going to get that entire story. That's super, super cool. There's a new FromSoft game that I swear was going to be Bloodborne 2, but it's not. It's called like The Duskbloods, and apparently it's going to be like a PvP Dark Souls game, effectively, which is interesting. So we'll see how that goes. And then there was a bunch of other things. It's been confirmed Silksong is going to be coming out in 2025. If anyone doesn't know, Hollow Knight was a game that came out forever ago. And we've been waiting for a sequel to it called Silksong for like a decade now. It's officially been announced at this Direct that Silksong is coming out in 2025. So that's super cool. Trying to think if there any other really cool stuff. Kirby Air Ride is getting a sequel called Air Riders, which I thought was cool. Donkey Kong Bonanza is a new Donkey Kong game, and instead of the kind of side-scroller Donkey Kong Country style games, this one looks like an open world style game, though there's a lot of like Minecraft in it. It feels kind of similar to Donkey Kong 64, if you remember that, which was one of the old like Banjo-Kazooie rare collectathon games. This one doesn't look like it's quite as much of a collectathon, but it is more of an open world game that looks super, super cool. So yeah, overall, when I watched the Direct, despite the fact that all of the audio was broken, I was really excited about it. I thought it was super, super cool. I thought there were so many cool things coming out. I'm excited about it. I immediately went to the website, and you can't buy the damn thing yet. But if you have a Switch Online account, you can sign up for a notification when you will be allowed to buy it. And that's when the world went crazy. Because people started finding out prices. And this is where things start getting a little bit dicey. The Nintendo Switch 2, the regular version of the Switch 2, retails in the US at $450. If you remember back to when the Switch launched, the Switch retailed at $300. So we're looking at a $150 price increase. And the Switch came out in 2017. So we're only looking at an 8-year difference to get basically a 50% price increase. That's pretty crazy. and people are not particularly pleased about that. Now, part of me wondered, okay, well, how much of that is just, well, it's a significantly more powerful system. It does a lot more really cool things. How much of this is based on, hey, this is a new system, and how much of this is based on, hey, did you realize that the economy has kind of tanked worldwide for the past, I don't know, 5 years for some bizarre reason that no one can figure out? Something that happened roughly in 2020, 2021 kind of destroyed the economies of almost every major country in the world. We have no idea what it was. So I actually went in and found an inflation calculator to figure out, well, something that was worth $300 in 2017, how much would it cost now? And because we, specifically in the U.S., we have had some of the highest inflation in generations. Because of that, what would have cost $300 in 2017 now runs just under $400. So inflation alone, I think the actual number, I'll look at the number here because I have it. So yeah, something that was $300 in 2017 today would cost $390.52. So we're only looking at roughly about a $50 to $60 price increase over inflation from the Switch to the Switch to 2. And that doesn't really surprise me a whole lot, to be honest, because the Switch, one of the like big complaints about the Switch in general is the Switch does not compete with the PS5. It does not compete with the Xbox Series consoles because it simply can't. Things like Elden Ring. Elden Ring released for everything but Switch. It's going to be on the Switch too, which is crazy. But any kind of big major game would release on anything but the Switch. So the Switch was always kind of marketed as like a secondary console. Yeah, you probably will have a big gaming console, and you can have a Switch. The Switch 2 looks like they're marketing it a lot more towards being a competitive console. Again, it's going to be able to play Elden Ring, which, while Elden Ring in and of itself is not a massive game with like really, really rough, it's not really, really rough on your hardware, but it is a really, really pretty game. And it's a really, really expansive game that the Switch itself never could have handled. Like, it was just not something that was ever going to happen with this Switch. So I think the reason for the price increase on the Switch 2, and I've mentioned this before, for anyone that doesn't know, the price that something sells at has nothing to do with the price that it costs to make it in any way, shape, or form. Pricing is decided by the marketing team. It is part of your marketing strategy. It is not decided by the design team. It's not decided by R&D or anything like that. It is entirely a marketing decision. And there are various marketing strategies that you can use that involve how you're going to price it. The original Switch, they kind of used what's referred to sometimes as like an economy marketing strategy or a value marketing strategy, where basically they were pricing it significantly lower than the other two consoles on the market to kind of show people like, hey, we are the value product. You know, these two are the super, super high-end things, and if you want the super, super high-end, go for them. But if you just want something that's going to be a great value, you can get the Switch. This seems to be that they are shifting from the value proposition to what's referred to as premium pricing, which is where you try to kind of compete. You price yourself at the same price or a little bit higher as the other kind of expensive brands. It's still cheaper than a PS5, if I remember correctly. Let me look right now. PS5 price. From PlayStation Direct. Oh, it's actually more expensive than a PS5 Astrobot bundle. I don't know if that's a sale price. Yeah, the PS5 Pro is $700. The PS5 Digital Edition console is $450. So it's the exact same price as the Switch, except the Switch allows you to have physical games. We'll talk about how that's not really it in just a second here. And then the disc drive version of the PS5 is $500 bucks. So yeah, that bundle price is really, really nice. So yeah, PS5 runs for between $450 and $500. The Xbox Series X, I believe, is I think the Series X is in a similar price. Yeah, $500. So the Switch is pricing itself in a similar price bracket to its biggest competitors, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. And it is marketing itself as a premium console. It has 4K HD. It has really fast hard drives. It has a significantly bigger internal hard drive than the Switch, and it has the ability to be portable as well. So they're pitching it as a premium game or a premium console. I'm absolutely fine with that. I was expecting it to be relatively around that price point. I was thinking it was going to be around the 400 price point, so 450 is not a big deal to me. However, people also started finding out how much the games are going to cost, and that's where people are really, really freaking out. Mario Kart World retails for the digital version. It retails at $80. For the physical version, it retails at $90. This is not the deluxe edition. This is not it comes with extra DLC. No, the base game is $80 digitally, $90 physically. And that is a huge deal. First of all, this is the first time in game history where the digital version has been cheaper than the physical version, which a lot of people think that makes sense. It's like, well, the physical version, you get something physical, so it should cost a little bit more. It shouldn't. The cost of pressing a disc is pennies. Like, and you know the actual packaging that you get with it, it's literally pennies. So the idea that physical things are more expensive, they're not. They're infinitesimally cheap. But so people were kind of thrilled with the idea that, hey, digital games are going to be cheaper than physical ones. They're not thrilled with the idea that base cost for new Switch 2 games is going to be $90 for physical. Like, that is nonsense. And again, if we want to look at, we can look at the inflation calculator and we can see, something that was $60 in 2017 would be about $80 now. So it's $78.10 is what the inflation calculator is giving me. So it's keeping in line with the inflation that we've experienced. Guess what, folks? When your government makes really, really stupid decisions to print a bunch or to shut down the entirety of the economy, close a bunch of businesses, and then just print money and give it to people to try and make them happy, this is the result. We see massive price increases on everything. So yeah, I can kind of understand. However, the price of video games has been in the $50 to $60 range since the 90s. New games on the Super Nintendo would run you depending on the game, anywhere from $40 to $60. So people are just not used to video game prices kind of keeping up with inflation. In addition to that, it has become both cheaper and more expensive to develop video games. And what I mean by that is the actual cost of literally everything involved in creating video games has gone down. GPUs are significantly cheaper now than they were in the 90s. The technology that they use to create all of this significantly cheaper now than it has ever been. The fact that companies no longer have to build their own what do you call it? Their own system that the game runs in. I can't remember what that's called because my brain doesn't work. Like, that's a really, really big deal. So the cost, the physical cost of making games has gone down. However, the cost of making games has gone up because they're involving more programmers, more people are involved in creating games than have ever been involved before. So as much as the physical cost of all the tools needed to make them has gone down, and the technology keeps getting better and better, and so things that used to take significant, just unbelievably long amounts of time can be done significantly quicker. The sheer volume of people involved in creating like a AAA giga game has skyrocketed, and that's how we can have games that cost hundreds of millions of dollars now. And like I said, since the video game market basically recovered from the crash in the 80s, video games have been hovering around that $40 to $60 price point for almost 35 years ish, a little bit over that. For almost 40 years, video games, that's been their price point. And it's only been in the last 5-ish years that we've started seeing companies selling the base version of their game for $70 and stuff like that, and people were getting really, really upset with that. Well, now Nintendo, who again, the last console generation, Nintendo pitched themselves as the economy route, the value-focused company. Everything that they did was meant to be a little bit cheaper, to encourage people to not have to choose between the Switch and the PS5. You could have both. Now, they seem to be matching their competitors price-wise, and their games are going to be more expensive than the equivalent PS5 version of the game. Like Elden Ring, when it came out, if I remember correctly, I don't actually remember what it retailed at. Where's my mouse? Let's go. Elden Ring buy. Where do I find I don't want CD keys. I just want to find out. Let's go to Best Buy. Best Buy will have the retail value for it. Elden Ring on Steam. Yeah, it's $60. Just needed to check. Yeah. MSRP is $60 for Elden Ring. So the Elden Ring version that is going to be coming out for the Switch 2 has a chance of being more expensive on the Switch 2 than anywhere else. Now, one thing to kind of clarify, the only game that we've seen a price point for has been Mario Kart World. It's the only one. So it's theoretically possible that for whatever reason, Mario Kart World is being sold at a premium price point. Again, pricing is not decided upon by the developers or the designers or anything like that. It's a choice that's made by the marketing team. So it's possible that they are pricing Mario Kart World at a premium price point to kind of show people this is so much more than just Mario Kart 9. This is going to be a completely new experience, and because of that, we're going to price it that. In addition to that, there is a bundle deal for the Switch 2, where you can get the Switch 2 plus the digital version of Mario Kart World for $500. So it's basically just $50 more to get the digital version of it. So there's also a possibility that the reason that they are pricing it at $80 is to create more value for the bundle version of the Switch 2. All of this is theory. I do not know what's going on. It is a Japanese company, and Japanese business practices are very, very different than business practices in the U.S. However, there is a Nintendo of America who probably, their marketing team probably got to choose how much things sell for in this country because they understand the American market better. One of the most important things, one of the few useful things I learned as part of my business degree was I took a world economics course that basically, if I boiled the course down into one thought, it was if you're doing business in other countries, you had better learn how business works in those countries, because the way that the U.S. economy works and the way that U.S. business mindsets work is not universal at all. U.S. businesses do operate similarly to a lot of European businesses, but when you get into the Asian market, business is completely different. Reputation is significantly more important in a lot of the Asian markets, including Japan. And so a lot of times Japanese businesses will lose money in order to make them look better in a lot of different ways. Whereas in the US, it really doesn't matter how bad your company looks as long as you're making money. And we've seen that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. There are companies that have absolutely disgusting reputations that are making shit tons of money. I won't mention a rather large letter-based organization that may or may not be hosting this video. But yeah, reputation means very, very little in the US. It is the most important thing in both the Chinese and Japanese markets. So yeah, it could be that again the North Nintendo of America made this pricing decision again to kind of show people, hey, we're done being, the little brother console. We are going to compete with the other consoles now, and because of that, we are going to price ourselves so that we're in a similar plot. Now, the newest version of a console right now is the PS5 Pro. And again, the PS5 Pro retails at, what is it? Really expensive is what it is. I think it's $700. Yeah. The PS5 Pro base version retails at $700, and the 30th anniversary limited edition bundle, which also comes with a disc drive and a bunch of other things, retails at $1,000. So if we're comparing this to the other consoles that the Switch 2 will eventually be competing with, if we're going to consider the Switch 2 the first of the new generation, the next generation of consoles, then it's probably still going to be cheaper than the PlayStation 6 whenever that becomes a thing, and whatever Xbox's new nonsense name for their new console is. Probably the Xbox dipshit, with how great their naming conventions have been. I will almost guarantee they will both be significantly more expensive than the Switch 2. But it's not stopping people from complaining, because, again, the only thing that they really have to compare with is the old Switch. And what is the Switch? What is it called? The Switch OLED? Yeah, the Switch OLED is about $350. So we're looking at a $100 increase versus the most recent flavor of the Switch. And people are, I think, kind of justifiably upset about it. It's like, well, I don't want to spend that much money on a new console, especially a console that is going to be here in 2 months. but again, I'm not particularly upset about the price of the new Switch. I am worried about the uh, Switch 2 game prices. If it is going to be the new norm that new Switch games, if you're getting physical, is going to be 90 bucks, that's going to be upsetting. The other thing that a lot of people are getting upset about is there's some text when they revealed the new Switch 2 cards. When you buy a physical version of a Switch 2 game, apparently, allegedly, I haven't confirmed this, the cards themselves are what are referred to as key cards. The game isn't actually on the cartridge. You still have to download it onto your Switch. And that was one of the reasons why I have as many of the physical copies of games as I do, because before I got an SD card for my Switch, I didn't have the space to have all those digital Giga games on there. And so I'd buy physical copies so that I didn't have to download everything onto the Switch, and I would have more room and be able to have more Giga games. Now, even if you buy physical, it's still a digital game. You're just paying effectively $10 more to have a physical key for it. But the game data is not on there, which kind of it misses the point of having a physical version of the game. For a lot of people, the reason they want a physical copy of the game is so when the Switch goes the way of the 3DS, where it's no longer supported and you can't download games for it anymore, you still have your physical cards that you can put in and play the Giga games. That's not going to work with the Switch 2. Now, to be fair, that's not how most games have worked for a long time now. Like, even if I have a physical version, like I have discs for my PS5. I don't have a lot of them. Most of my games are digital, but I do have physical copies of a few Giga games on the PS5. And if I put those games into my PS5, it still installs some of the game from the disc and then downloads the rest of it from the internet. The same is true about the Xbox. It is especially true of PC games have gone almost exclusively to digital. Most computers don't come with physical media drives anymore. Like I don't have a CD-ROM for my PC, and I sure as hell don't have like a floppy drive on it. So yeah, not particularly thrilled about the fact that Switch and Nintendo seem to be going a purely digital route, but it's not particularly surprising. Let's put it that way. So yeah, overall, I'm thrilled about the Switch 2. I'm looking into my finances to see if there's going to be a way that I can afford a Switch 2. We'll see. Right now, I'm in a bit of a drought as far as like RPGs are concerned, because Renegade hasn't announced any new Essence 20 books coming out soon, which has been a bit of a blessing to me. D&D, I'm not really keeping up with a ton of their books. I'm interested in the new Dungeons and Dragons book, or the new Dragons in Dungeons book, but we have a little bit of time before that's going to get here, and I'll probably go digital with that to save some money. So there's a distinct possibility that if I put it on like a credit card and pay it off over a few months, I might be able to have a Switch 2 at launch, which would be super, super cool. And for me personally, because of my disability and everything like that, and just how bad it's gotten relatively recently, like in the past year or so, having the ability to play games like in bed has been a heaven sent for me. It has made my life significantly easier. So yeah, having a more powerful console that I can play in bed and still play all of my old Switch games on, that's a really big deal for me. Like that's huge. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Interested to hear from you guys. Did any of you guys watch the Switch 2 Direct? What are your thoughts on the new Switch 2 and all the cool stuff that it does? What are your thoughts on some of the games? Was there a game that I didn't mention that you're really, really excited about? Let me know in the comments down below. And, you know, pricing stuff. Are you in the boat of, I can't believe how greedy Nintendo is? They're evil, horrible, disgusting capitalist corporation that deserves to die, like a large portion of the internet? Or are you like me going, makes sense. I'm not happy about it. I'd like things to be cheaper because I don't have money. But it is what it is, you know. Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, again, it's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.